Kia ora whanau, and welcome to another episode of ADHD in Cars. As you've probably seen with the raft of videos that are going up at the moment, we're currently doing introductions. So this particular video is an introduction for Brooklyn. He is currently assisting us with pretty much everything possible to do with the channel. Obviously Brooklyn also has ADHD. The reason I'm doing this little preface is because when I reviewed the video before I went to upload it, I was confronted with what I looked like on a medication rebound. So when I watched the video, I noticed my grinding was quite severe, my twitching was quite severe, my eyes were really wide, and yeah, that was quite confronting for me. So I felt a preface was absolutely necessary to better explain what you're seeing, because it's something I just have to put up with effectively. My dosages last an hour each time, and I had already had my third dosage, and I decided to have a coffee as well to try and stretch it out, because you can use other stimulants like caffeine to help stretch out the benefits, I suppose, you get from the medication you take for ADHD. So nice quick little preface from me, and on to the video. Kia ora whanau, and welcome to another episode of, what do we call ourselves, ADHD in Cars. My name is Grant, and we are still doing the introductions. I'm beginning to wonder if having several of these is going to be mind-numbing, but nobody really cares. So I have got with me to my left the other human who will be assisting in this particular endeavour. Welcome, Brooklyn.
G'day, I'm Brooklyn Retter. I've known Grant for a couple of years now. And I've been sucked into this journey, I guess is the way to put it, helping edit and film videos based on the cars he's got, and the future endeavours with working on cars and stuff like that. Obviously Grant's into his Euros and I'm in that weird teenage Japanese phase of life, but fuck, there's nothing like getting in the old RS, so he's definitely converting me as much as I'm trying to fight that urge.
Now, one little thing, because I've never done a dual video with someone before, so we're currently sitting in the donor car that I did a video on earlier today. Poor fucking YouTube is going to be swamped. Oh, I swore. I'm not supposed to swear.
I did too. Good thing I did. Can edit beeps in there.
Well, these videos are unedited. That's the whole point of the introductions. They're absolutely unedited. The videos that are going to be edited are the ones where we're actually doing content. And I'm getting foam around the lips. Hang on. This happens when I get excited about what I'm doing, just like a little child. Oh, it didn't even do me fucking hair. Hang on, there we go. I mean, I can't really see the screen from here, but I'm sure we'll find out once we put this on YouTube. So Brooklyn, I've left the car on, sorry. Brooklyn, like myself, also has ADHD. So, you know, it's very apt for the channel. And just like I always do, I'm losing my words as well. So, Brooke, why don't you tell us a little about what you enjoy doing with cars? Because you actually share some very similar interests to me. You enjoy the EFI tuning side of vehicles as well, don't you?
Yeah, very much. I started into it. My older brother has a turbo EK Civic that we bought as a backyard bodge build, and it was just, I guess, the ADHD and just tinkering on it every weekend. Ended up sinking too much money into that car. My older brother did. So now it's full, like the head's built, turbo, nice manifolds, link ECU with custom harness, digital dash, all the GPS tracking features and all the rest of it. So I just tinkered away every weekend I was with him. And it's turned into a 300 horsepower Civic, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's in a car that came out with 80 odd horsepower, it's definitely fast for what it is. So I just one day decided, hey look, I want to learn some of the Link ECU parameters and software, jammed my laptop in, made a few edits as time went on, and it just sort of clicked from there. So I started learning with Link, and I've tried to start expanding my software knowledge to the likes of Hondata, Haltech, etc. So hopefully that takes off, and then it'll be a really useful feature to be able to control all that side of things. As it's already proved, went to a couple of track days with him, and I ended up getting paid to go around with a few people for diagnostics with their cars and stuff like that, which is really cool. I just didn't have the intent of anything like that, but everyone's like, oh, jump in, I've got this fault code, I've got this miss, can you let me know what it is? And once you understand the software and behind the software, it's really easy to understand what's going wrong. So as an example, one of my friends had a 400 kilowatt Evo that would just not accelerate. Plug in, have a look at a few of the parameters and how they didn't line up, and it was something stupid like the TPS was loose and it had clocked slightly backwards, the screws had backed out, but stuff like that could have cost him his motor if it decided to run lean. So it's just the satisfaction of being able to help others for me that really drives it.
See, I would more argue that it's the problem-solving aspect of it, because that's the same thing that drew me to tuning. So if we look at the R33 GTR I used to have, and that was my first EFI tuning experience. And just to sort of put this on a level, really, this gentleman has a much higher level of knowledge and experience than what I do. But we had a very similar, well, not the similar issue, but we had a similar problem-solving challenge with the GTR. And when I got that off dyno, we weren't able to extract any more than 244 all-wheel kilowatts out of it, when in theory we should have been able to get closer to 300 all-wheel kilowatt. And the pieces of information I left the dyno with was my air intake temperatures are extremely hot and we can't understand why. And therefore we can't increase the power for the risk of detonation. And so what that led me to was to discover that the brass bung, they use a brass bung to measure air intake temperature on the RB26 DETT. I don't know why I said DETT, that just sounded really good. DETT. So they use the same brass bung for air intake temperature sensing as they do for the water cooling. And that brass bung sits flush with the intake manifold wall. It doesn't stick out into the flow of air, therefore it's getting heat soak off the intake manifold, especially at high RPM, high speeds, etc., and thus it's giving an incorrect IAT reading. So what we ended up doing was swapping out for a fast response IAT sensor from NZEFI, and we had an instant 40 to 50 degrees Celsius drop in air intake temps, and we were able to up the boost, up the ignition advance, and get a shit ton more power. Now, just before we draw this to a close, I feel you should possibly share some other apt experience that you have. This young gentleman has a lot of little skills up his sleeve that I keep learning about that he keeps forgetting to tell me. So it would have only been 2 weekends ago you were at a particular event. What else do you have under your hood that you can tell us about? You'll know the event I'm talking about. What do you do as well? I believe it's called Juicy Fest. So tell us about what you actually do there.
So I'm a theatre technician, so all things technical in the production field I dabble a little bit in. So for Juicy Fest I was a camera operator. I work closely with the Regent here in Palmerston North. The Globe Theatre, I'm an employee house technician there, as well as Act 3 Productions. I do a lot of sound work for them, so I guess the technical aspects also help with the EFI tuning, as I had a somewhat understanding of logic and numbers to some extent, as well as obviously with ADHD. I found that the data input into my head was really satisfying in a sense. So I'm a very logical person. Thanks for putting the windows down.
Oh my god, it is so fucking hot. And we are baking at the moment. We're currently in good old fashioned Dramiston North, and it just fucking bucketed. Oh god, I swore again. I've really got to learn not to swear. It just bucketed down, and so we had to have the windows up, the sunroof closed, everything, and we are just overheating monumentally, including the lovely Honey Bear. Do you want to say something, Honey? No, Honey really hasn't got anything to say at the moment, so we'll carry on. Sorry for interrupting, do carry on.
No stress. So I guess the logic and the input of numbers into my head was just real soothing in a way. And so I got into stage technology when I was probably 8, and I tried for the longest time, this is going to sound super bad, tried for the longest time to get paid for my work, because I was putting in a whole lot, and finally within the last year I started getting called on for paid gigs, etc. So that's pretty cool, on top of all the car stuff I do.
Well, that just really goes to show if you really stick at something, that eventually it pays off, and it's something that I'm having to learn as well. So that's what we hope to do with this YouTube channel, see if we can turn it into money. If I keep swearing profusely, then that's really not going to happen, but we will get there. So I believe we've probably said all we can really say. I like to try and cap these videos at the under 10-minute mark, because I get bored of watching myself for that length of time, so I'm pretty sure everyone else will. So thank you again for joining us. This has been another introduction episode of ADHD in Cars with yours truly, Grant Von Nutsack and Brooklyn. So thank you very much, Brooklyn. We look forward to seeing your exceptional camera. And did he mention he has a bit of a DJ skill in the background as well? He has that as well. So I'm just going to pop that in there. So all the best, team, and we will catch up soon, and you'll see this on YouTube.